Hi, I'm Jim O'Connor, and this is the Married Guy's Guide to Life. Today's installment is from the I Just Can't Make This Stuff Up file. It's a small world after all. I've long maintained that there's something special about Iowans. If you put two of us together, within 10 minutes we'll figure out that 1, we're related, or 2, we're not related, but we do know at least one other Iowan in common. It's not a huge piece of magic when you consider there are only about 3 million people in the whole state. I also maintain that Iowans are born with some sort of special magnetic power that draws us together. A case in point. The scene was Frankfurt, West Germany. It was a beautiful October day in 1985, and I was assigned to the sports office of the American Forces Network Europe, AFN. AFN was then, and still is, the largest military radio and TV network in the world. Back then, its signals covered most of Western Europe, with stations in 3 countries stretching from the North Sea to southern West Germany. Imagine watching WGN Chicago, but all the news and sports anchors and meteorologists are wearing military uniforms. That was us. It was mid-morning when the phone rang. I answered it as usual. AFN Sports, Airman O'Connor speaking. On the other end of the line, a young woman said, "Is this Jim O'Connor from Osage, Iowa?" The question threw me. I was halfway around the world from home. I confirmed who I was. She paused, then dropped the hammer. "Jim, this is Carol Mayer." After a quick second of stunned silence, I practically yelled into the phone, "Carol Mayer, where are you? How'd you find me?" Genius that I was, I forgot that our radio audience was more than 1 million people, and it was the only English language option in Germany. Carol was my friend and high school classmate. We grew up in Osage, a town with 3 traffic lights and about 3,500 people. Carol explained she'd joined the Army after high school and had recently been stationed in Heidelberg, just 45 miles south of Frankfurt. Like most GIs, she listened to AFN radio. To her surprise, she heard a familiar voice that she swore was her classmate. Carol explained she'd joined the Army after high school and had recently been stationed in Heidelberg, just 45 miles south of Frankfurt. Like most GIs, she listened to AFN. To her surprise, she heard a familiar voice that she swore was her classmate. Now, her Army buddies didn't believe her. Hence a bet and a quick phone call. That weekend, I took the train to Heidelberg, met her buddies, and settled the bet. And then the world got smaller. It was early on a spring Sunday morning several months later. I walked out of the AFN compound in downtown Frankfurt on my way to Mass at St. Sebastian's. To get there, I had to make my way through the Army and Air Force Exchange Service complex directly across the street. The first thing you came to on the complex was the AFIS car dealership. I saw a young GI-looking kid checking out the cars. He instinctively turned at the sound of my footsteps behind him. As our eyes met, we realized we recognized each other. "Jim," he said, with a look on his face. "Jim," I replied. Yep, it was Carol Mayer's little brother, Jim. He, too, had joined the Army after high school. It turned out he was on leave for a couple of days, and at that moment was killing time waiting to meet some travel buddies. And then the world got even smaller. Fast forward 3 years to the summer of 1988. I was out of the Air Force and was living at home with my parents for a few months as I waited to return to college in the fall. I was working part-time at KGLO Radio in Mason City, the very same part-time job I'd left before joining the Air Force. Deja vu all over again. It was midday on a Sunday when the phone rang. I answered it as usual. KGLO, Jim O'Connor speaking. On the other end of the line, a young woman asked, "Is this Jim O'Connor from Osage, Iowa?" The question threw me. Again. I was halfway around the world from where I was when the same exchange last happened. I confirmed who I was. She paused, then dropped the hammer. Again. "Jim, this is Carol Mayer." After a quick second of stunned silence, I practically yelled into the phone, "Carol Mayer, where are you? How'd you find me?" Genius that I still was, I forgot that KGLO was the second largest radio station in the state, and if you listened to the radio in northern Iowa, you listened to KGLO. Carol explained how, like me, she'd left the service and was now home preparing for the next stage of her life. Her parents listened to KGLO, and when she heard me on the radio, she just had to call and surprise me. Again. And she succeeded. Again. I just can't make this stuff up. A small world? Yes, it is, indeed.